This is Sessions with Sara Cate and Ashley, a podcast that explores the feelings, emotions, and experiences of what it means to be human in this world. This podcast is intended for educational purposes only and is not meant to replace therapeutic services of any kind. Please refer to the list of references if you need support.
And before you dive in, please like, subscribe, comment, share with anyone you think might also connect with today's session. Our goal is to reach as many people as possible, and we are endlessly grateful for your continued support. So, let's get to it.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to another Sessions with Sara Cate and Ashley. I am Sara Cate.
I'm Ashley.
Today, we are going to have a little conversation about something that is highly difficult for myself and Ashley to do in our own personal lives. Yet we are so good at offering it to our clients and our friends and each other, which is the concept of receiving support. So I don't know who of you out
there already.
Yeah, I don't know who of you out there just cringed, but I did. Yeah, I'm like sitting in a pretty tight tension, hands clasped. All of my legs are tucked in. It's a really kind of unfamiliar thing to do as an adult, is to recognize that we haven't learned how to receive care and support, and that acknowledging that can be actually a really liberating and kind of opening for really intimate, deep relationships to form when we learn how to kind of receive care and support. Some of us who, for like me, who grew up in like I have to always kind of perform and people please, you become that like giver by nature. I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, and it just kind of becomes a function of my life to like give. And receiving is something that I created a boundary up to early on, perhaps because I didn't have certain things I needed or whatever the reasons might be. But that ability to kind of allow a two-way flow in relationship is really important. Like we have to be able to do both, give and receive, to be a part of a healthy, functional dynamic. Otherwise, resentment builds, frustration builds, mistrust builds. And I saw that happen over the course of my life, where even though I know how to give and support and pour things outwardly, there would be a resentment that would build when I got too tired or when I got too kind of overwhelmed. I would get resentful for the people that I had given to, and that wasn't reciprocated. And so it's taken a hell of a lot of work to learn how to ask for help. And it still doesn't often come out in those specific direct words. But it's what I've had to do a lot of kind of self-evaluation around, is like, where am I actually blocking myself from being in really loving, supportive relationship because I don't believe that I need to receive because of whatever story is in my head about that, being weak, being, I'm being needy, those gross things. And so we wanted to kind of like bring this conversation up in this space of like, okay, so what does it mean to receive? Why is it hard? And how do we get there?
Yeah. And in any relationship, right?
Yes.
Whether it's romantic, friendship,
work,
whatever. Yeah. And isn't it curious, Sara Cate, how here we are, right? We're talking about this, and the messages that I know her and I have received some of the same messages of like, it's that like, that I don't even know how to say this, that like independence that is preached. And and when I say independence, there's two paths to this, because I think that there is an independence that comes from survival of when you're growing up and you're trying to voice what you need, and that might come out in big emotions, because when we're little, we aren't sure, we don't have the language, right?
They're all emotions.
And so I think some independence in that term in that sense comes from us just realizing that like it doesn't matter if we voice what we need or want, like it's not going to be met. And so I might as well just like shut it all down and just like do everything myself. And there is a very strong worshiping of the martyrdom that comes from not needing anybody in our society. And I think one of the biggest examples of that is with mothers in our society specifically.
Yes.
But I don't.
Celebrated.
Yes, it is celebrated when we don't
do it all.
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the biggest areas, but I don't think that it's not just specific to mothers. I think that it's with all of us. And yeah. And so here we are then as adults, and we can so easily see, I can so easily offer Sara Cate all of the love that like I want her to feel. And it's a genuine, I want her to be taken care of, and I want to love on her, and I want her to feel supported in whatever she's going through. The second, this just happened in the last episode, you guys, I started crying. I like look at her with desperation on my face as I'm actively backing away and like, moving away.
Trying to get like, out of the camera's view. And I'm like,
and she,
what's happening right now?
And she tries to offer support, right? Like she like put her hand on my leg and was like, to let me know that she's here, right? And I'm like, like how quickly can I remove myself from this situation so I don't even have to feel her come into me and offer support, connection and support, you know? And I don't know, I mean, I feel like a lot of the concepts we talk about on here, I'm kind of like, just fucking burn the whole shit down and let's start over, right?
Yeah.
And as much as I would like to do that,
right,
we can't. Right. We can't. And so we have to change it within first, so that we can show up better for ourselves. So then we get to show up better for others. And I, when I think of receiving, to like tie it back, I mean, I'm like moving like my ring around on my finger, like all like aggressively right now. And I'm like, I feel this like tension all through my body. And so as you're listening to this and you think of somebody just wanting to offer something to you just because, right? What do? Is it that they give you a compliment on your shirt and you're like, I don't think I got it for like $5 at blah, 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 right? Instead of just saying like, thank you, things like that. Like, I think it's so weird how they will sneakily come in. Oh, how we have to like justify something that we're getting complimented on, and it's, yeah, I don't know.
It is. Well, you were kind of talking about how we glorify this like independence. And I mean, I subscribe to this story that like, I am not that I am better, but I am safer if I can do it all by myself. Having gone through a divorce, it was kind of, I can remember having that conversation with myself of like, you best know that this is all on you now. You are going this alone now. Essentially in my brain, it was till the end of time. And then love happens, but like, it was like to the end of time. I was like, I'm doing this by myself forever. One woman show here. Right. I was going to be the guy from Mary Poppins, where he's got the cymbal and the harmonica and the kick drum all on his body at once. That was how I envisioned my life was going to be for the rest of it. And Because I think when you go from a narrative that is like, you are only safe, and especially as women, you are only safe and you are only worthy if you're marryable to some degree. Like if you can find a partner, you know, then that means that you have value and, or your worth.
Yeah. And, you know, when we say things like that, I want to just pause for a second, because it's not just that we're saying, like, it's not that just we're hating on men, but it is the actual, in real life, we weren't considered fully human to do things that like men were afforded to do. Vote, have our own bank account, buy a house, leave the house without a ring on our finger of some, you know, person asking our parents for permission from them to be with us, right? So like, so there are some things here that, like, when we speak on this and coming, and when we're talking about like women, it's not just like we're gonna bash men, although, you know, sometimes we have to.
You know, payment is due.
But all of these things, we had a conversation about like that immediate, it was, I don't know, maybe a few episodes ago, about that like immediate, like the messages and the trauma you get from like your immediate caregivers. And we had about like generational trauma. And so like all of this plays a role into what we're talking about right now.
Right. The formation of what society kind of has said is important. Right. And like, I grew up in a small town, and goals, it's not even that in my home I was told I needed to get married and have children. That was not a message that was preached to me by my parents. But when you look around, you know, the joke was like, oh, girls went to college to get their MRS degree. So there was some standard of kind of acceptable rhetoric that pushed you down a path of like, this is what you do. This is just what you do in order to exist in this society. And I know other cultures, that is a huge part of it. I mean, women come with dowries, right? Like, it's a thing. So like we're just talking about kind of the intensity of programming that we receive, even if it's subconscious.
Right.
And then becoming a woman who gets a divorce, and I'm speaking about being in a female body and growing up as a woman, getting a divorce, there was fear. I mean, even my grandmother, who did most of her life on her own, when I would come home, wouldn't talk to me about my career. It's, have you met a man yet?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, and she wasn't doing it to be diminutive to what I was doing. It was just in her own psychology. That was what was going to keep me safe. And so then I was like on this like rampage, right, of like hyper independence. I will never need a partner, and so on and so forth. And what that did was burn me the fuck out and exhaust me to levels of overworked, under-supported, under-resourced, and quite depressed, to be honest. And as I have learned through therapy and learned how to receive care safely, how to understand when I have needs, how to help my clients do this as well, right? Like, to me, it was like an awakening of like, oh shit, I don't have to be alone.
Right.
I am okay to some degree, not really psychologically, but like physically, I can do it. I can have my own home. I can have my own bank account. Physically, I can take care of my logistical needs in this life. Yeah. But I don't have to emotionally do it by myself. I don't have to emotionally labor. Now, catch me sending a text that says, I need help. No, still not. That is not the muscle Sarah's got. But, you know, Ashley will like infiltrate with her tiny hands, typing me these things that are like, are you really okay? You know, like just needling in there, because she knows, am I still going to directly come out and say it? Not yet. Maybe I believe I could at some point in my life. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning that safety. I'm still learning how to receive support and ask for it, right?
Yeah.
And it's practiced. This is something that we have to learn how to do, because if we've learned to not need it, it can be unlearned. It can be changed.
Yeah.
But it takes the right support to make you believe that you can do it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed working with the people that I work with is there tends to be because, when we're babies, right, we like 100% rely on somebody to take care of us or we wouldn't survive. But then it becomes this, like, there's a bypass of trusting your body or learning about your body. And then you become adults. And then it's like, okay, but now you're supposed to just like be in relationship and have it be like two ways. And we confuse this like hyper-focused independence with agency over who we are. We confuse being independent with being able to take care of ourselves. Because if we're really taking care of ourselves, if we're really connecting into the things that we need, we recognize that as humans, we are to be in connection with others, that we are to be in relationship with others, and that in those relationships, there is a mutual, not one-sided, right? But there is a mutual giving back and forth. Because even on this podcast, there have been days where like one of us shows up and we're like, okay, here's where we're at. Right. And the other person is there not to say, well, too bad,
get on with the show.
Put your big girl pants on and you're fucking doing it anyway. Right. We stop, we pause, and we provide the other person with whatever that is. And that's how it's supposed to work. We're not like Sara Cate said, like, can you like physically live alone? Yeah. Can you do everything on your own? Yes. Does that provide the type of care that your heart is worthy of? No, it doesn't. And it doesn't mean that it's just like easy to then accept it. And so, as we are talking about this, maybe you're thinking about, like I mentioned, like if somebody gives you a compliment, what is your response? It's a very powerful exercise just to say thank you.
Oh, I still don't just say thank you.
Same. I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm like, thanks so much. Or I'll be like, ha, I'm going to hang out with you every day. Like,
it's wild. But it's wild to just do that as an exercise and see what your body does. Do you say thank you and then you're like, you feel the impulse to explain it away or justify it or diminish it? I tend to do that.
Yes, you do.
I like make it a bad thing, whatever it was complimented, right? And I think because my system is like, don't receive that, because somewhere along the way for me, compliments and kindness or care were transactional.
Yep.
If I give you this, then I expect something back. And when that happens, it puts a stop in your body of like, I can't accept even a compliment from a stranger because I don't know then what is going to be required of me. So we learn this out of safety. This isn't because we want to be isolated.
Right. Yeah. All right. So Sara Cate, what the heck do we do?
What do we do? Ashley, what would you say is a practical way? Like, I love this example of like, say thank you and see what happens to your body. But like, what is a practical way? Like, we were just kind of talking about both of us in our lives experiencing kind of the like, they don't know if you don't say anything. You just sounded like a we still haven't gotten our soundboard.
I know.
Season 3. We will get a soundboard. But like, what would you say is a practical way to start to work with that muscle of naming what it is that you might not directly say, I need help, But like, how do you start to give yourself that? And like,
Yeah.
how does that become available?
I feel so uncomfortable right
I
now.
know, I can tell. She's done this. She's done this to me the last 2 sessions. So,
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
this is
You're right.
not
I'm
a
with
tit
ya.
for tat,
I'm with
but
you.
just
You're right. But it is.
medicine,
But
because
it
I
is.
actually don't want to. This is where I'm receiving, but I'm taking it. So it's different. Okay.
Okay. So, okay.
How does this
yeah.
become available to us?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to give an answer that we always give, but then I'm going to go into it a little bit more. Because me recognizing how uncomfortable I feel right now is the first step.
Amen. I was hoping you were going to say that.
Well, what would this podcast be if we didn't say that? So that truly is step number 1. I'm what?
I was going to see.
Oh, I thought you were like whispering something
over here.
Oh.
Nobody.
Oh. You know, I am really blessed currently with people in my life who help me with this. Sara Cate is one of them. But other people who are able to ask more questions, right? And it doesn't have to be a tell me what you need.
No.
Because that's an overwhelming, it can be. You might know, right? Like, of course,
Sure.
you could know. But especially if something is really charged and it's really heightened, it could be really difficult. And so asking questions, and I'm going to talk about like asking another person, and then we're going to flip it and like bring it back to yourself. So like asking another person or just saying like, tell me more, right? Leave it open-ended, because tell me more could be like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to say. Or tell me more could be, I'm just really feeling like all I want to do or all I can do today is like curl up on the couch and like I can't do anything. Like I can't even think about going to work or whatever it is. Or tell me more could be, this is what I'm feeling in my body. Like my chest feels really heavy, blah, blah, blah. So asking yourself, okay, tell me more. Tell me more about this feeling. Like I want to tell myself more. I want to find out more about this heaviness that I feel like in my diaphragm. And it's like it's like this overwhelming, like 800-pound blanket has just been like laid on top of me and I can't move. So I want to know more about that, right? Because I want to know, me going and saying, hey, Sara Cate, I need XYZ right now, or to whoever that is in my life, I'm not there. Me saying to Sara Cate, now this is not a secret that she's like somebody who I feel comfortable talking with, but like me saying to Sara Cate, hey, I'm feeling this way. It does feel okay. Like me saying to somebody else, like, I'm just feeling really pissed off right now. That is accessible to me right now, but it wasn't always. It wasn't always. And so when we think about receiving help, it doesn't always have to be like, actually, yes, what I really need right now is whatever, a vacation or a bath and a glass of wine, or like, I need to just like lay down and read a book. You might know some of these random things, but it's not as important about knowing what is moving through your body. Because that's what's going to help create that like groundwork of sustainability. And when we have a groundwork of sustainability of because I'm not there. I'm not able to just send a text and say like, hey, I need help. Right. But if I'm working and I'm practicing laying this groundwork, what's going to happen is when I feel like that, I have a base that's going to catch me. I have somewhere to land. I'm not going to fall through the cracks as often as I would, but I'm still going to sometimes, right? There's still going to be things that totally throw me off that like maybe I wasn't expecting, or maybe I wasn't expecting how much that like brought this charge up in me. Is this answering your question? Okay.
You're doing great. Well, you're speaking about recognizing first what is in you. It's building that relationship to your need first.
Yeah.
So that way when someone can come to you, it's not just like, I don't know, I'll just do it myself. or I'm just going to shut down. I'm going
Which
to
is,
isolate,
yeah.
which is easy for us to do. And it makes sense. It's
Mhm.
self-protective.
Mhm.
And yet what you're
Mhm.
speaking to is asking the questions, asking those open-ended questions. So that way, if someone is new to this, I'm still new to it. So Ashley wouldn't probably say specifically to me, what do you need? Because I would be like, I don't know.
Mhm. And that's
Still information.
also a really good answer to say to
Yeah.
somebody. Like that is because that, it's the honesty that comes from this,
Mhm.
right? It is not that in that moment, then you have to like make something up to make that other person like feel okay because they're asking, because it's really nice. It's really nice to have somebody ask you like, hey, what do you need? What can I help with?
Mhm.
It can feel really good because to think like, oh, they're like thinking of me and they like want to help, right? Totally different to feel good than saying what we actually want. And so honesty
Mhm.
in all of this, which like, if you're saying, I don't actually know, that is being to the core honest to yourself and
Mhm.
not bypassing that question that you have internally of like, oh, she asked, so I better like figure something out. Let me just throw this out there. You know what I mean?
Mhm. But even to give like space to, I don't know, let me sit with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like sometimes we might need to be by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we might need to be with someone. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we might need to get outside and sometimes we might need to lay down. And
Mm-hmm.
like all of those things can be true any given moment of any given day.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to us turning first, as I really think that you were trying to say, is I have to ask myself that first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can say to somebody, hey, this is what I think that I need, or
Mm-hmm.
thank you for asking. I need X or Y,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. Let's kind of work through it. Right. Like, and
Yeah.
that, that, because even that is receiving care.
Mm-hmm.
Even me being able to say to Ashley, I don't know, is receiving care.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, like we've said this a million times before, we weren't given tools
Mm-hmm.
to know. And
Mm-hmm.
so this could be very well the first time in your life that you're looking around going, oh, look at all the ways I'm resentful. Look at all the ways that I'm irritated. Look at all the ways that I just like feel like no one is listening and sees me. I can start doing that for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to start looking at my relationships and being like, which ones don't I feel seen in? Which ones
Mm-hmm.
don't I feel heard in? Which ones don't I feel attuned to in?
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa.
Right.
How am I not showing up?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like it becomes a really beautiful opportunity for conversation with somebody else that gets to be reciprocal of
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't, what can I do? Or here's a couple ways I could support you. How do those land?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if those feel okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I can't come over, but what if we did a phone call, or what if I brought you dinner next week?
Yeah.
Like giving options almost to someone who's
Mm-hmm.
never had this space to like ask for something is a
Mm-hmm.
really great way to start, because it doesn't overwhelm them, because they're not going to know. They're not going to be able to pick the,
Mm-hmm.
something out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to kind of be exploratory with yourself even too, of just
Mm-hmm.
like, I think I need to go for a walk. And then you go for a walk and you look at and you see, and you're like, that wasn't it.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't feel better, or I don't feel changed at all. Okay, so let me try this, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
gets to be trial and error with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves and with others, but opening yourself up to that is scary. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's for me and my clients too. I see it all of the time where it's just like we get so stuck in our patterns of like self-protection that we become very isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, my partner doesn't get me, or,
Yeah.
I'm not seen at my job. My needs aren't considered in my family. And there is a reconciliation that sometimes happens with where it's like, well, I'm also not saying it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving myself
Mm-hmm.
the worth and the value to bring it to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm worthy to
Mm-hmm.
have those needs.
Yep.
And that's a really hard part of this to
Mm-hmm.
reconcile. And that
Mm-hmm.
was me. I was not deeming myself as valuable enough to
Mm-hmm.
advocate. And
Yeah.
that is some self-work I've had to really do.
Yeah. I had somebody say to me one time, I don't remember who this was, so God bless you, whoever this was.
You in the
But
world.
I have no idea. But it could have been you. I don't know.
Who knows?
Anyways, they
Could have
said,
been you.
huh?
Could have been you.
Well, I don't think so.
Okay. Sometimes you say things and you don't even remember you say them.
Right. True. Very true. So, but whoever this person was, they were like, well, Ashley, you are so good at giving love and making people feel important. And if you're willing to do that, other people are also willing to do that for you.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, literally
Mind
mind blown. Like,
what a concept.
literally mind blown. And then I had to really think about, okay, so in my life right now, what relationships do I feel supported in that? What relationships do I just not, right? And in what relationships am I expecting that, but I'm not showing up in a way that I'm incongruent with what I'm saying I want, right? Like I'm incongruent with saying like, I want this, but I'm not going to voice that. That doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, logically, I can sit here and say like, that doesn't make any sense. Now, the process of me getting there, that's different. You know, I was, this is like kind of random, but it goes, just follow for a sec. The other day when I was teaching a class at the gym that I teach at, we were making some changes to one of the exercises, and I gave them 2 options. And I said, okay, so you're going to practice making a decision that best suits your body today, right now. And that is what we have to do every single day. We have to practice making decisions that best suits us for where we are at in that moment. And when we start to make decisions for what feels best for us, that's where we get the practice of being able to say, actually, the care that I need right now is not to go out to dinner tonight. The care that I need right now is to like say that I can't make it, whatever the example is, right? But practicing those little decisions every day is going to get us used to being honest with ourselves about what we need. Because when we can be a little bit more comfortable, again, this isn't like going to be like, we feel 100% great with this, but when we can practice with ourselves, it opens the door for practice with others, right? It's not perfect with others, but it's practice with others. And then maybe you are able to say, when somebody asks you, where do you want to go eat? You can say, I'm really feeling this or this. And it's not even a big deal. You don't have to say, I don't care, because you don't want to be inconvenient, right? You'll just go with the flow, right? Very simple, not super, heavy topics, but practicing being able to just say that, like your body gets used to saying, actually, you know what? I really am feeling sushi.
I do.
That's what I want.
Yeah. This would feel really good. This would feel nourishing.
It doesn't have to be so heavy and deep every time when we're practicing this.
Yeah, it's a sticky one. Like, just as I was listening to you talk, I was like, God, it's even sometimes even that is hard to say, yeah, I'm actually feeling sushi.
Yep.
Like, and how many of us maybe try to just be amendable, try to be, go with the flowy, try to be, and like, then we kind of get back and we're like, God, that didn't feel right. Like that didn't land. Like, that's not what I needed, And again, this is a conversation about coming back to the relationship that you have with yourself and finding that number one, ability to listen. And then 2, the courage and the fortitude to some degree to advocate for it and say, I need this, or this would feel good. And it comes through practicing in those simple ways that Ashley was talking about, just by starting to say, hey, maybe I would actually love to go to this place for coffee, or I would love to do this afternoon. And work that muscle slowly. And then when you are in distress at some point, you'll be able to say, this is what I need right now. But it has to start with that communication and relationship to yourself. What do I like? I love that you said that, Ashley. Like, what do I need in this moment? What is going to best serve me right now? And that is a dialogue with you first, and then the world. And
look at that. We made it back to ourselves.
If you need support in doing this. We have a list of resources. If you're confused as to how to begin, get a hold of us, or we can help connect you with facilitators and practitioners that can help you do this work. But remembering that, like, starting a journey like this is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard and it's easy, and yet
Mm-hmm.
it will be the thing that could really potentially open up relationships and love and care and intimacy and support. You know, if we actually consider our needs to be valid.
Yeah.
And we actually learn what they are by listening.
And you are worthy.
It's true.
Your needs and your wants do matter. Mind blown. Okay,
As
guys.
always, take care of yourself. We're so happy you're here. Like, share, comment. Send this to a friend.
Yeah.
Who might, you know, be like a Sara and an Ashley, who you're like, I'm always trying to say, what do you want? What do you need? And they don't let me help them. Maybe they'll listen.
Yeah. Okay. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.